It's finally home sweet home for the Atlanta Braves, who are searching for their first win of the season. Starting out 0-7 after a trip out west, now the Braves welcome the 4-3 Miami Marlins to Truist Park. We're going to take you up to first pitch here on FanDuel Sports Network Live. Hello, everyone. Welcome inside Truist Park. I'm Madison Hawk, thrilled to be joined by the one and only MLB analyst, Ben Verlander. As I mentioned, the Braves looking for their first win of the season. And hey, where better to do it than in Braves country? In front of the hometown faithful. We know how loyal this fan base is. So the Braves looking to get their first win. I'm thrilled to be here. I haven't been to the new ballpark yet. I know it's been around for a while, but I grew up going down to the ballpark, down to the street. What about you? This is pretty nice, right?
I haven't been back since the World Series in 2021, but this ballpark is awesome. I love it here. And to your point, if it's going to take you a while to get your first win, you might as well wait until you get back home to do it. Maybe that's what they were doing all along.
Yeah, absolutely. We know how loyal Braves country is. So Atlanta trying to get their first win of the season right here in Atlanta. It's now easier than ever to watch FanDuel Sports Network, so you really don't have any excuses. You can watch it the old traditional way. Just sit on your couch, grab your remote, turn on your TV, and watch on cable. If you do have cable, you can use your network provider credentials to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network app. But if you don't have cable, no problem. You can subscribe to the app directly with monthly, seasonal, or annual plans, and even more. Now the latest addition is you can watch on Prime Video with an add-on subscription. You can go to getmyhometeams.com to see if FanDuel Sports Network is in your area. So, of course, FanDuel Sports Network, the TV home of the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, who are facing off tonight here from Truist Park. It is a beautiful afternoon here. And the Braves starting out this season 0-7, but I think that it is important to note that everyone just needs to take a deep breath, right? It is the beginning of the season. It's a reason why that baseball is 162 games. There's 155 games left. So what would be your message to Atlanta fans watching?
Madison, you said it. There's 162 games in a season. We're 7 in. I'm not great at math, but I can tell you that means there's still 155 baseball games to be played. Not the start you want, but for those that haven't been keeping track, the teams that the Braves have been playing are undefeated, by the way. So it's not like they've been playing just your average team and losing to them. They've been playing really good baseball teams as well. They've been on the road. Now you get to reset, and a reset is huge. The season starts, all you want to do is get that first one under your belt. As a hitter, just get your first hit. As a pitcher, get that first strikeout, get through that first inning. And as a team, it's about getting that first win. And when that doesn't come, you start pressing a little bit. You start pressing, and then the first one doesn't come for a little while. Then you go up 5-0 in Los Angeles, and Shohei Ohtani hits a walk-off home run. And then you're like, great. Now you're back home. Now you really reset. You get your first game at home. Season starts today if you're the Atlanta Braves. 155-game season. Season starts today. You have to get your first win now.
No, I really like that perspective because they did face the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, which the Padres did, by the way, lose their first game of the season today. However, I think that a lot of the buzz, especially on social media, is that no team has ever made the postseason that has started 0-7. And yeah, that's a pretty significant stat, but there have been some teams that have been able to claw their way out of losing streaks and be able to get into the postseason. But it is important to note, as you just mentioned, that as you see the graphic here, the Rays most recently, a team in 2011 who started out 0-6 and got that AL wildcard spot. But it is important to mention that 85 teams have had 0-7 streaks during the regular season. So that goes back to your point that this is just a long season. 0-7 streaks in the postseason that have still, and the regular season that have still made the postseason, I should say. And most recently, the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2023 both had 0-8 and 0-9 streaks in the regular season. And hey, they were in the World Series, right? So once again, to your point, I think we just need to take a deep breath on the Atlanta Braves.
Look, the beginning of the season is all about overreacting. I get it, right? Like that's the fun of it. But you have to remember how long of a season it is. And I get that we're talking about the Braves not winning a game. They're 0-7, but we all just need to take a chill pill. To your point, I get it. No team that's ever started this season 0-7 has ever gone on to get in the postseason. Well, there have been 85 postseason teams that have gone 0-7 at some point in the season and still made the playoffs. I was at the World Series a couple of years ago when the Rangers and the D-backs were both in the World Series.
Yep.
The Rangers lost 8 in a row at one point that year. The D-backs lost 9 in a row at one point in the year. And if you're going to have an 0-7 stretch, you might as well make it the first 7 games of the season, so you have 155 games left to go. So I have John Smoltz on my show, Flippin' Bats, once a week, which is awesome. I grew up a Braves fan as well and grew up a massive fan of his. And to be able to have him on my show every week is awesome. But we talked about the Braves, and he said, look, is there concern? Sure. But look, the Braves are going to be good because of the guys they're getting back. Spencer Strider. If Ronald Acuna Jr. can come back and be 75% of himself, it's a massive upgrade for this team. Strider's due back soon. Sean Murphy's due back soon. We see it here in the graphic. Jurickson Profar, obviously a big pickup. Not exactly due back soon because he's suspended for PEDs, but Sean Murphy, I believe tonight, Madison, is on his rehab assignment. Spencer Strider having his second rehab start. Ronald Acuna Jr. is due back in May. So the help is coming for this team. Another point is that I have the Braves in the World Series, right? We can talk about that in a second. But the reason I have that is because of guys in this lineup. Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr. due back soon. Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, Michael Harris II, Matt Olson. Every single person that I just mentioned is hitting well under 200.
Yeah.
That's not going to continue to happen for this team for much more than a few days. They will hit. They've continued to hit in their entire career. And this is just a slow start for a really good offense. There's so much reason for optimism with this Braves team. I am not jumping off the bandwagon after 7 games, and nobody should. They'll be fine. Let's pump the brakes with the Braves.
Yeah, well, to your point, looking at Texas Rangers, whenever they won the World Series, I think a big part of the reason they were able to work through some of those losing streaks was because they had a lot of depth. And whenever those guys, like you just mentioned, get back, when Spencer Strider can help this Atlanta Braves rotation, it's only going to make them deeper and so much better. We know what type of pitcher Spencer Strider is. He's a guy that I have watched pitch since high school, and he is electric when he's out on the mound. So when they can get him back, Ronald Acuna Jr., to your point, I can tell you're really passionate about this Atlanta Braves ball club, though. I wonder if it's because you had them as a preseason favorite to win the World Series. Once again, a reason why they play 162 games, right?
Oh, we're putting up the bracket.
Hey, we've kept our receipts. Just take a look there in the middle. He has the Braves winning the World Series against the Houston Astros. Ben, are we still feeling that? Do you want to take it back or no? You sticking to it?
I absolutely do not want to take this back. Look, again, it's the theme of this show. We're 7 games into the season. Now, I will say, with the World Series, I think comes a lot of depth. So I didn't have the Braves winning the World Series because of this team we're going to see tonight, right? It involves Ronald Acuna. It involves being able to get into the playoffs and throw Spencer Strider and Chris Sale at teams in the first 2 games he play against them. But there are now a bit more depth concerns, I guess you could say, with the Jurickson Profar news being suspended for PEDs, and now he's out for 80 games. You might say, well, there's a lot more than that in the season. Yes, he will come back later in the year, but the suspension does make him ineligible for the postseason. So a really bad start for the Braves. But I'll say this, Madison, the reason I'm here,
you're here to save the season, right?
Aside from doing the show with you, is I'm here to save the Braves season. I've heard so much that Ben is a jinx. He picks us to win the World Series. Braves fans, they want me to take it back. No. I'm not taking anything back. In fact, I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm here in Atlanta to save the Braves season.
Okay, you heard it here first on FanDuel Sports Network Live that Ben Verlander is going to save the Braves season. In all reality, though, you did play in this in baseball for a long time. You spent 5 years in the Detroit Tigers organization. So have you ever experienced a streak like this where you've lost some games, but you got to get back on track quickly?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
There was at one point I was playing in the Florida State League. Shout out Lakeland Flying Tigers, the high A team for the Detroit Tigers. We weren't good. And at one point in the year, I believe we lost 12 or 13 straight. It's 100 million degrees in Lakeland, Florida in the summer. it was tough, but the losing streak really does get to you. And you hear it all the time in baseball, no matter what level. Let's just get one hit, and then it'll start snowballing.
Yep.
One hit leads to another, and then the team's taken off. Well, the same thing happens on the opposite end. And you can really, if you have 1 inning and 3 innings and then 1 game, 2 games where things aren't going well for the offense, it can snowball in a bad direction. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Look, Michael Harris isn't a 150 hitter. Matt Olson isn't a 150 hitter. Austin Riley isn't a 150 hitter. But when there's no success happening at all in the lineup, it's a snowball effect. So that's why, 1, I'm here to save the season. 2, it needs to start early. First inning, let's get out, let's get some offense going. It's your first game at home, turn it all around. You have to break the cycle. We've broken one cycle, right? We're back home. They haven't played a home game all year. Now you need to break the offensive slumps, and that can start tonight, and I think it needs to start early in the first or second inning, get some runs on the board.
And you brought up Austin Riley, a veteran guy, an offensive powerhouse when he is on. And he mentioned after that loss in LA, whenever Shohei Ohtani walked it off, he said, look, it is embarrassing, but he said, I've got to look myself in the mirror, and I've got to show accountability with myself as well, because we are not an 0-7 ball club. We should be winning more games. And I think that just speaks to the volume of this organization, of this franchise. The reason they've been able to make 7 consecutive postseason is because they do have veteran guys like that are taking accountability.
And here's one thing I can tell you. I know Austin Riley well. He's come on my show a couple times. I just talked to him a few minutes ago pregame. There was a parade down through the Battery before the game as well. Talked to him about that. The Braves are in good spirits. So for everyone pushing the panic button out there, I get it. But the team's not. There's so much time. The team is in good spirits. Austin Riley's feeling just fine. They're happy to be back home. So yes, it's an embarrassing start to the year. You push the reset button, you come home, you played a good Padres team, you played a good Dodgers team. It didn't work out in your favor, but now you're home, you reset, you have a crowd behind you cheering for you, and you know your team is good. They're doing just fine down there. I promise you, I think they win this game tonight, to be honest with you.
Another guy who's going to try and speak life into Braves country is an MLB legend, Eduardo Perez. He's going to join us on the other side of this break right here on FanDuel Sports Network Live. We're excited to talk to Eduardo Perez, who is going to help the Braves get back on track, speaking wisdom into the fan base. And we're also going to discuss the newest torpedo bats, all that and much more. Stick with us.
Deliveries happen.
Hello? We didn't order that.
Are you sure?
This happens.
Socks. No.
That happens.
Hey, get out of there.
Charlie's up to bat in the pinch.
Oh, let's go.
Home happens. Be there with Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
I love betting on the NBA with FanDuel, especially when I've got the world's greatest basketball mind on my side. What's up, Chuck GPT?
What's up, Chuck IRL?
What do you think about this parlay?
It's great, but why don't you use me for something you really need help with?
What does Charles Barkley really need help with?
Hundreds of results found.
Uh-oh.
Fashion sense, basic math.
What?
Being on time, portion control, conflict resolution, enunciating, free throw percentage.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
Eating vegetables.
Your toe chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire.
Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
You have a UTI at 30,000 feet. Yeah, you need a doctor. Good thing you can chat with an Amazon One medical provider from anywhere. That way, beds will be at your hotel, maybe even before you arrive. Now just brace your urethra for turbulence.
Meet Jonathan Thompson, an award-winning international travel writer on a mission to discover the world's most dynamic, adrenaline-fueled destinations. From once-in-a-lifetime outdoor adventures to local traditions and cultures, Jonathan will immerse you in the most vibrant metropolitan areas. Elevate your senses, ignite your wanderlust, and let the journey begin as he explores the world's best adventure cities.
FanDuel Sports Network Live, where you can now watch your favorite teams easier than ever. You can watch us the traditional way by just sitting down and turning on your cable TV and watching us there. And if you do have cable, you can use your network provider credentials to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network app. But if you don't have cable, hey, it's okay. You can subscribe to the app directly with monthly, seasonal, or annual plans. Or, of course, now you can watch on Prime Video with an add-on subscription. Just go to getmyhometeams.com to see if FanDuel Sports Network is in your area. Madison Hawk alongside Ben Verlander here from Truist Park, where the Atlanta Braves are looking to get their first win of the season against the Miami Marlins. Is joining us is an MLB legend, Eduardo Perez. Eduardo played 13 years in this league, so if anyone can speak wisdom into this Braves country fan base, it is him. Eduardo, what's your message to some Braves fans who might be thinking the sky is falling right now?
Be number 86 is what I'm trying to tell everybody. Be number 86. Look, there's been 85 teams that have had losing streaks of 7 games during the regular season that have gone on to make the postseason. So be that number 86. Just do it, right? Last year, there were 3 of those teams that were able to do it. This is a team right now that, yes, they went to San Diego. They went to L.A. A lot of teams struggle out west. They're going back home. They have 81 games at home, and they are a really good team. Don't forget about what just happened with LA and San Diego. Those teams were, and absolutely, I think both of those teams are going to make the postseason. But what happens now and what happens through October are going to be 2 different animals. And to me, once you start getting your team back, once it starts getting healthier as the games go on, the Atlanta Braves will be a team to reckon with in September, with the possibility of making it into the October run.
And I think you bring up great points, Eduardo. Right now, the Atlanta Braves lineup is batting an average of 151, which is worst in MLB. But as you know, things can turn around. They have veteran guys like Matt Olson and Austin Riley who are really speaking out publicly, holding themselves accountable, saying that this is embarrassing, but they're wanting to get back on track. How do the bats come alive? How do you get going whenever you're in somewhat of a slump?
Yeah, it gets easier, believe it or not, right? The more games you play, it gets easier. You go home now, it settles down a bit. But the one thing that players have to do, and having been in this position before many a times, is you can't forget to breathe. You can't forget to just lean on your teammate. Be able to not try to do it all with one swing of the bat, with one at-bat. Don't try to make an entire night of it. Do all the little things right. Move the runner over. If you have to, get the ball in the air to be able to get a sac fly, do that. Don't try to get too greedy and try to be bigger than what you are. Control what you have in front of you. Easier said than done, but it can be done with the talent that the Atlanta Braves have. They defend, they run well, they do all the little things right. And Brian Snitker is the right person because of all of his experience, having had it in baseball at all different levels, to be able to guide this team through this.
Eduardo, what's up, man? Pumped to have you on. Here's my question for you. So, obviously, we're not to that point in the season yet where you have to press and you're grinding and you need to figure out a way to get out of a slump. But my question for you is this. You played the game for a long time. I played the game. Baseball players are the most superstitious people on the planet. What is something in your mind that you remember either doing or seeing to get out of a slump, whether it be a losing streak for the team and something the team did, or a streak to get out of? Look, this is a story I will never forget. But I'm in the locker room one day. The guy directly to my left, not going to name any names, but my teammate right next to me was in like an 0 for 23 stretch. He shows up one day in the locker room, and I am not kidding you, goes to get ready for the game, goes to put his pants on, and he is wearing a pink thong. I am not kidding you. And he proceeded to get his first hit in a long time and wore that for like a week. Not kidding you. Yeah. That happens more than people would know, Eduardo. What is the craziest thing you did or saw?
It's okay to be uncomfortable in the box. It's okay to be uncomfortable, right? I mean, you have to feel that way a little bit. There's nothing wrong with it, Ben. By the way, were we teammates at one point or another? That wasn't me, right, with the 0 for 20? I'll tell you this.
Ousting him.
Look, I'm Latin. And we talk about superstitions, we've got them all. And from the jock strap, if you get a couple hits with it, look, you don't put it in the wash. You don't put it in the wash at all. I remember I played in Japan and I had a great game, and I put it in the wash, and I'm like, okay, I'll get it back tomorrow. I'm not going to be nasty. And then they tell me, no, you get it back the next day. You have to have 2 sets of everything. I'm like, 2 sets of what? Since that moment on, I never put my jock strap back in the wash. I would wash it by hand. I'd take care of it like you wouldn't believe. I mean, that's one. Another, I would grab my bats. I have one right here. Well, I won't use this one, but I would grab a bat and I'd take it home with me. All right, that's what I would do. I'd take it home with me and I'd soak it a little bit, and then put it next to the air conditioner so it can catch a fever or catch a cold and it can get hot. I needed that bat to get hot.
Eduardo, were you here? Did you play with Smoltz in 07? Were you on that team by chance or no? No. See, this is the thing, and I love this, Ben. No, so just in case, and Eddie Perez knows this from the Braves. He's over there in the bullpen. I'm the good-looking one. I'm the TV guy. He was the one that wore a mask. And we make a lot of fun. We go back and forth all the time. We're like brothers. It's awesome. I even took his licensing check one year. And fortunately, I returned it to him. But no. I wasn't on the Braves, though. Here's the story Smoltz told me literally today. He said, so one year, Willie Harris, this is in 2007, couldn't buy a hit. Andrew Jones made a deal with him. He said, if you can get 5 hits in a game, I'll get you a Rolex. So he was really struggling, couldn't get a hit. At Turner Field, they were doing a giveaway, an in-stadium bat giveaway. Willie Harris said, screw it. Grabbed the bat giveaway, went 6 for 6 in that game, and Andrew Jones had a Rolex sitting in his locker the next day when he showed up.
I got to call Drew.
Baseball's insane, man.
I'll tell you how insane it is. A little trivia that not a lot of people do know.
Give me a nice watch.
And a little trivia a lot of people don't know. The first person to ever use a Marucci bat is this guy right here. They made fun of me, but look where Marucci is right now. Not bad.
I do love all the superstitions in baseball, though. I married a baseball player. He pitched 7 years in the Miami Marlins organization, and there were some days where I just knew if I could talk to him or if I couldn't, because I didn't want to interrupt his superstitions or anything like that. Eduardo, I don't know if you played with my buddy Mark McLemore with the Angels, but you talk about a guy who was one of the most superstitious guys I have ever met. He played 19 years in this league, and he credits that a lot because of his superstitions. I mean, going from putting one shoe on, left shoe on first over the right cleat, and then walking on the field, not being able to step on the lines. I mean, all the little superstitions. I feel like I'm learning more and more every time I talk to a different baseball player about their superstitions.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. In the shower, I'll tell you this, when you turn off the shower and it comes out, the water that comes from the shower down on the bottom part, my left foot always has to get the last breath, you could say, of that water. So just a lot of things. And to this day, I still do it.
Eduardo, I want to ask you, because you brought up Marucci. I know they're kind of towards the forefront of this. Alex Bregman's a big Marucci guy. He's now swinging the torpedo bat. I want to ask you about that. It's obviously the big talk around the game of baseball. You talked about it on Sunday. I'm sure you'll talk about it again this coming Sunday. But my question to you is, what are your thoughts about this? You know, it's a bat, in case not everybody's super familiar. The barrel, if you will, is basically just catered to the player. So if you constantly make contact a little bit below where the traditional barrel is, you're putting more wood where you're making contact. Eduardo, my question to you is, one, what are your thoughts on this? And two, would you have used this?
I would have probably have used it as well, because I love the science of it. I love that bat. That picture right there is a really good example, because it's a cupped bat. The earlier picture you saw of Jazz Chisholm was not a cupped bat, so it's more, you could say, acute, the end of the bat, and it just looks a lot more different. That one right there just looks a little bit thicker on the bat head area, on what they call the barrel, than the one that others use that are cupped bats. The bottom line is, if the engineering and the physics of it is right on point to where I think, and I guide the bat head in through the zone, and it can stay long enough. If I can give myself a chance, absolutely I would use it. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with that man right there, Francisco Lindor, and he said I used it the entire season in 2024, yet his bat is cupped, and the reason he did wasn't because of the physics of it. It wasn't an MIT guy that came to him and said, this will work for you. He just wanted better quality wood, and he felt that if the bat was more dense, it would create a better quality of wood because he felt that the bats were breaking too many at a time, and he wanted that quality. And look, it worked for him. We saw that it worked for others as well. Ellie De La Cruz the other day, but then again, the Cincinnati Reds, the last 3 games, they haven't even been able to score a run with or without the bat. It's still about the player, not the bat.
Well, and you bring up good points. That MIT guy, by the way, now a Marlins coach. I was seeing him down on the field during pregame. But you also just talked about how these bats, yes, they're getting more hype now, I think maybe because the Yankees were the one that really made them famous last Friday or so. But as you mentioned, guys were using these in 2024. Why do you think that the hype is around the torpedo bats now? Do you think it's because of how big the New York market is and that some of these big names with the Yankees, Jazz Chisholm, were using them and they were having so much success with going yard? Or why do you think that there's more talk around the torpedo bats now when it is a reminder, it's important to remember that they have been around for a couple years or so, right?
Perfect storm, I would say. You look at the 3 things, right? 1, Michael Kay was the one that started talking about it on air. He did a great job of being able to explain it. The cameras also did a great job of being able to show where contact was made on Volpe, and as well as Jazz Chisholm, right on point. And then the big one, the color of the bat. It's not a dark bat, right? They're light bats. Giancarlo Stanton used his in the postseason. It was a cupped bat. It wasn't as acute at the end, but it was a black bat. And because of it, you ask any umpire at first or third, when there's a check swing to be made, they have a tougher time seeing if the hitter checks his swing or not with a black bat than they do with a lighter bat. And I think because of that perfect storm, it really took over. And let's not forget all the home runs, the 9 home runs that the Yankees hit in that game. That also set the alarm off in a major way.
Eduardo, I don't know about you. I'll tell you this much, though. If I could have used it, it wouldn't have helped me swing it too many 90-mile-an-hour
I saw your swing, man.
Box. It ain't helping you there.
I saw your swing. You're right.
You still got to make contact. You still got to have success.
Look, man, hey, we've all had our careers and we've all had our ups and downs, but I loved it.
It's fun to talk about, right, though, because baseball is one of the most traditional sports. We don't see many changes like this, but it's fun to just be able to talk about this new change with the torpedo bats. Eduardo Perez, thank you so much for joining us here on FanDuel Sports Network Live. It was a pleasure talking to you. I know you're really busy during this time of the year, so before I let you go, where are you headed this weekend, and what are you most excited about down the stretch of this opening week?
Well, I'm headed to Boston, the Cardinals and Red Sox, and the Red Sox took care of business today. It's expected rain tomorrow, but Sunday night we're looking at a game at 7 o'clock on ESPN. That I am definitely looking forward to, especially with my colleagues, with David Cohn and Carl Ravitch and Buster Olney. So we'll have a nice dinner tomorrow, discuss that, and hopefully get to see a lot more great baseball down the stretch. And by the time Sunday's done, maybe the Braves will be 3-7 instead of 0-10.
New at the ballpark this season.
Eduardo, this was great, man. Thank you so much.
I like it. Hey, safe travels. Thanks so much for joining us, Eduardo.
Appreciate you.
So exciting to add. All right, Eduardo Perez joining us here on FanDuel Sports Network Live, a guy that played 13 years in this league, now part of ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball. Great chat with him. Coming up after this break, we're going to take a deep dive into the NL West and highlight some of those big-time teams. And there's so many cool areas here.
This year, I'm trying to ace my college bets on FanDuel. So I'm here with somebody smarter than any professor I ever had. What's up, Chuck GPT?
What's up, Chuck IRL?
What do you think about this parlay?
It's great, but why don't you use me for something you really need help with?
What does Charles Barkley really need help with?
Hundreds of results found.
Uh-oh.
Pronouncing alma mater.
What?
Remembering that there's no East Virginia. Conflict resolution. Free throw percentage.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Learning the players' names.
Girls' night.
Well, remember that place we got burritos from last time?
No, but with Ring, I can find it. Food delivery?
Nice.
There it is.
Wow, this really makes you look smart.
Thanks.
With Ring, you can type it and find it.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's save a little more now so we can create the retirement we want. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need. Visit asiaretirement.org.
I'm with 2018 lacrosse national champion Christian Gaudy for the FDA's Don't Get Burned Sunscreen Challenge.
Bring it, Daryl.
She's tough, but I won't get burned today. I'm using a broad-spectrum sunscreen.
The FDA recommends broad-spectrum sunscreens with an SPF of 15 or higher with other sun protection measures to reduce the risk of sunburn and skin cancer.
You smoked me, Kristen.
That's because I use sunscreen, so I wouldn't get burned by you and the sun.
Broad-spectrum sunscreen. It's a winning play every time.
You're sick. On vacation. And now your wife is faced with going out there. With them. Alone. But mom's having none of that. She got you a virtual visit with Amazon One Medical. And soon, beds will get delivered right to the hotel. Because no one gets out of joyful family fun. No one.
Atlanta Braves fans are ready for their team to finally be home after an 0-7 start. They'll now face the 4-3 Miami Marlins right here from Truist Park. And the Braves hungry for that first win of the season. We're going to take you out to first pitch here on FanDuel Sports Network Live. And a reminder, it is now easier than ever to watch your favorite teams because we have multiple options. You can watch on cable, and if you do have cable, you can use your network provider credentials to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network app. But if you don't have cable, it's okay. Just subscribe to the app directly with monthly, seasonal, or annual plans. And if you do that, you can also get a Prime Video add-on subscription where you can just watch us on Prime Video. But be sure to check out getmyhometeams.com to see if FanDuel Sports Network is in your area. As we welcome you back inside Truist Park, I'm Madison Hawk alongside Ben Verlander. And as we mentioned, the Atlanta Braves hungry for their first win of the season. They started out 0-7. It is important to remind people, though, they did face the LA Dodgers, the reigning World Series champs, and the San Diego Padres, who before today were undefeated. So two ball clubs sitting atop the NL West. And the NL West, by the way, is stacked. We take a look at the standings. As I mentioned, LA Dodgers starting out the season 8-0, and then the San Diego Padres. First loss of the season came today, but also the San Francisco Giants. That's a team that we're going to have to watch. Ben will have more on them later on, but let's start with the LA Dodgers. Obviously, a ton of household names there in LA with Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. The list go on and on. But I think what stands out to me the most with the success of the Dodgers, and if they could break that 116 wins in a season, is because of the depth that they have. Can you speak a little bit about just how locked and loaded and how deep that this LA Dodgers team is?
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, you can look no further than the 5th game of the year for the Dodgers was started by Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow is an ace of a staff on probably 20-plus teams around the league. But on the Dodgers, he's starting the 5th game of the year. Now, that's not to say he's their 5th best starter. I think that just goes to show their depth of how good they can be. So look no further than that. Over the course of 162 games, something always happens, right? Injuries, who knows what comes up. But having depth is what gets you through 162 games. And the Dodgers, sure, they have a couple question marks in the rotation. There's injury concerns, but those question marks can be answered everywhere you look. Freddie Freeman just got put on the IL because he tripped and fell in the shower the other day. You know who's hitting walk-off home runs for the Dodgers? Shohei Ohtani. If Ohtani tripped and fell and was on the IL, Freddie Freeman would be doing it. Mookie Betts can do it. Will Smith is towards the league lead in on-base percentage. They just don't stop. And I think that's why they're so good. Yes, they have their stars, but they have so much depth. I mentioned John Smoltz was on my show today, and I asked him, do you think the Dodgers will break the all-time record, 116 wins, set by the Seattle Mariners in 2001. His answer was really interesting. He said, if the Dodgers wanted to break the all-time record, as in if they really tried, they could do it. But what they're going to do is prioritize their health, and Shohei Ohtani's working back, and Clayton Kershaw's working back, and Freddie Freeman probably wouldn't be on the IL right now if it was playoff time. Mookie Betts dealing with that health concern at the beginning of the year. Shohei Ohtani's pitching injury, but going to come back. They're going to ease everybody into it. They're going to separate themselves in this NL West, most likely. So they're going to be able to prioritize health. But what John did say is, look, if the Padres keep doing what they're doing, or the Giants keep doing what they're doing, then they have no choice but to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And next thing you know, they could absolutely get the all-time record. But if they separate themselves, they will prioritize health over getting the all-time wins record. So he thinks they'll come up just a little bit short of that all-time record of 116 wins.
And another guy that adds a lot of depth to that Dodgers lineup is a guy like Tommy Edman, who the Dodgers went out and got during the trade deadline last year and then signed up to a 5-year there in LA. And he's such a utility player, but he's also a great hitter at the plate as well. His balance, his eyesight, the way he's able to keep it compact. Fun player to watch. But I'm glad you bring up the San Diego Padres, because it does feel like right now it's a lot of talk between the Dodgers and Padres. And we take a look at the Padres lineup. They are locked and loaded as well. The teeth of their lineup is really impressive. But then you take a look at a young guy like Jackson Merrill, who is only, by the way, 20 years old. But hey, he just got paid. He got a 9-year extension. But a lot of that is because of what he was able to do in his first season in the league. 24 home runs as a rookie last year. And as a reminder, he was also 5th in the NL in batting average and 6th in slugging last season, his first year as a big leaguer. That's pretty hard to beat. He's already got a top 10 contact hitter when you're comparing him with some of the other guys in the National League. But you also look at what he was able to do in the minors. He came from AA and went straight to the big leagues and made an instant impact right away. You see 46 games in AA, 0 in AAA. Can you put into perspective how hard that is to do? Yes, what he's been able to do raking in the big leagues, but to go from the minor leagues to the big leagues and not have that much of an adjustment period, that's pretty impressive.
You see it all the time, guys. It either goes one way or another, you feel like. Sometimes you'll have guys get an early call-up, and then they struggle, but the team tries to stick with them. I think of Jackson Holliday with the Baltimore Orioles. Massive, massive prospect. Orioles call him up at 19 years old. He really struggled, and then he gets sent down, and that can affect you. The Padres last year, they had a center field issue. It's what do we do in the outfield? Obviously, Tatis is moving from shortstop to right field. We need a center fielder. They moved Jackson Merrill, this 20-year-old shortstop, to center field, and he went out there and answered every single question. And to me, that's just, it's almost unfathomable what he was able to do just at his age. It almost feels like he's too young to understand the levity of the situation. He's just out there at 20 years old just playing baseball, what he's always done. And to do it with a position switch from shortstop to center field at the level he did last year, so well worth the extension. 9 years, $135 million extension for Jackson Merrill. Couldn't be more well-deserving. And to your point about this Padres team, he's only a small part of it. So you look at why they're having so much success. Jackson Merrill's a huge reason. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Luis Arraez, and then the rotation.
Cronenworth.
And then the rotation, the first start of his career with the San Diego Padres, Nick Pivetta, who's a number 4 in their rotation, didn't give up a run. So all of a sudden you look, the rotation's really deep. The back end of the bullpen's great. The lineup is great. Jackson Merrill's thriving at barely old enough to drink, or 20 years old maybe, and he's thriving on this team. So the Padres are a really, really fun team. We were talking about it before we went on air. It's a fun stadium to play in. The vibe there is insane. So, man, the Padres are rocking and rolling right now.
Yeah, you can't beat being in San Diego, especially this time of the year. We do have to take a quick break here on FanDuel Sports Network Live, but we still got much more to come as we're taking you up to first pitch of Atlanta versus Miami, and we got a lot of games on the network today as well as you're taking a look at some of the big finals right there. The Cubs, as I mentioned earlier, giving the Padres their first loss of the season. 3-1 the final there in Chicago. The White Sox losing to the Tigers 7-4. Red Sox with a big win over the Cardinals as well, 13-9. But we got much more here to come on FanDuel Sports Network as we are wrapping up the opening week of MLB season. And as I mentioned, the Atlanta Braves still hungry for that first win, and Braves country hoping that they're going to be able to get it right here inside Truist Park. So a lot of fun left to be had here in Atlanta. We hope you stick with us. We got to take a quick break.
You're sick, on vacation. Good thing Amazon Pharmacy will deliver meds right to the hotel, because your wife's not going out there alone with them.
FanDuel held a shooting contest to promote its new MySpend tool. MySpend makes it easy to view your deposit and bet history all in one place. Because betting without knowing how much you're spending is like shooting in the dark. See the whole picture. Make FanDuel's MySpend tool part of your system and stop shooting in the dark.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets attention. Hate, however, is actually quite small. But love. Love is the majority. Love fills our hearts, our lives, our every day.
Where's that game we always play?
I don't know, but with Ring, I can find it. Board game. Oh, man.
If I may, search raccoons.
There's a lot of results. Oh, look, the masquerade party. What a party.
Girl, you have a raccoon problem.
With Ring, you can type it and find it.
Meet Jonathan Thompson, an award-winning international travel writer on a mission to discover the world's most dynamic, adrenaline-fueled destinations. From once-in-a-lifetime outdoor adventures to local traditions and cultures, Jonathan will immerse you in the most vibrant metropolitan areas. Elevate your senses, ignite your wanderlust, and let the journey begin as he explores the world's best adventure cities.
Welcome back to FanDuel Sports Network Live. You now have 4 ways to watch your local team. You can watch it on cable. It's probably the easiest way. If you have cable, you can use your network provider credentials to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network app. But no cable, no problem. Just subscribe to the app directly with monthly, seasonal, or annual plans. And also the newest edition, you can now watch FanDuel Sports Network on Amazon Prime Video with an add-on subscription. Just check getmyhometeams.com to see if FanDuel Sports Network is in your area. As we welcome you back inside Truist Park, I'm Madison Hawk alongside Ben Verlander. The Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves set for first pitch for the Braves. They're trying to get their first win of the season. They're going up against a Marlins team that's sitting 4-3 right now. The Braves country hungry for this win and hoping they can bring it here in the home ballpark. We're going to take some time now to take a look at the Central divisions, and I do want to start with the AL Central. There's some question marks around who might be able to take this division because it's pretty even right now. A lot of teams tied there, as you see. Detroit 3-4 after a win, Cleveland 2-4, Kansas City 2-4, and then Chicago 2-5. Who do you think, if we're calling it after the first, say, week of the season, could run away with the AL Central?
If we're talking NL Central, my take on it so far is that this division stinks. There's not a good team in it right now. Everybody's below 500. But the Tigers did win today to currently hold first place, if you want to say that. They're below 500. But look, I did have the Tigers winning this division. There were 3 playoff teams from the AL Central last year. The Kansas City Royals, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Detroit Tigers. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. This offseason, none of those playoff teams did a ton. The reason I believe in this Tigers team is, one, played in that organization, want them to do well, so maybe it's a little bit of a sweet spot. But 2, best pitcher in baseball pitches for the Detroit Tigers. His name is Tarek Skubal. The guy's an absolute stud. I think he wins the Cy Young Award again this year. But 2, they're really the only team in the division that did anything. They went out and added Gleyber Torres. They got Jack Flaherty. Pair him in a rotation with Tarek Skubal. Nobody else in the division did much of anything. So I like this young Tigers team to come out and do some damage in this division. I don't think anybody in the division is going to be the number 1 seed in the American League by any means. But I do think the Tigers can win a division that I think is probably weaker than the AL West or the AL East. So give me the Tigers. I think you said run away with it. I don't know if anybody's running away with the division.
Walking away?
The Tigers will crawl away by game 162 in the AL Central.
Well, the Milwaukee Brewers, talk about a team that it looks like March and April, maybe completely different pitching staffs. And I know that sounds crazy because we're only a week into the season, but if we take a look back at what the Milwaukee Brewers did against the New York Yankees, I think the big headline from that series was obviously the Yankees going yard with the torpedo bats and so many home runs, breaking all these records, yada, yada, yada. And you look at it and you're like, okay, well, how much of this is just a really talented Yankees roster, or is it a Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff that doesn't look really good? You take a look at their March and April numbers. April, they started to turn it around with a sub-1 ERA, and in March, a 12 over 12 ERA. They've allowed no home runs in the month of April. I know we're just 4 days in, so people are probably like, well, yeah, it's a small sample size, but what do you think about what the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff has been able to do? And I also am interested in your take on this, because we take a look back at the beginning of March when teams are still playing spring training games and your schedule is completely different, right? You're waking up really early, you got a lot of day games, and then you get into the regular season, you're going to bed late because your games are late, you're waking up at noon. How much of that do you think was the contrast in what we saw out of the pitchers getting adjusted in March and April?
Yeah, it's certainly adjustment, right? I mean, I talked to, Smoltz talks all about this on my show often. He says, I don't like the beginning of the regular season because, think about it, you have spring training where you're waking up at 6 in the morning, you're to the field by 6:30, you're leaving the field, if you're a pitcher, like Smoltz or we're talking about with the Brewers, the second that game starts, you're pretty much out of there. So 1:30, you're there, you're gone, you're on a golf course somewhere, and then you're in bed early to wake up early the next day. Well, the season starts, and all of a sudden, you're starting games at 7 o'clock. You're not leaving the field until 11 or midnight. You're not going to bed until 1 or 2, and then you sleep until noon the next day. So it's just a shock to your system that we absolutely need to account for when we're talking about adjustments. Now, is that the reason the Brewers had over a 12 ERA in the month of March? Probably not. Is this transition a reason that they have a .31 ERA in April? Maybe not, but the point of all of this is there is an adjustment period. And the theme of this show, I guess you could say, is pump the brakes.
Take a deep breath.
When the Brewers played the Yankees, we thought they might be the worst pitching team of all time. Then they shut out the Reds 1-0, and is this team a great pitching staff? So what are they? Well, we'll know over the course of the next month and couple of months. But there is a big adjustment period to go from spring training to the regular season. And this is just the prototypical story of the game of baseball.
Yep.
Take Nestor Cortez, for example. Nestor Cortez was with the Yankees last year, goes over to the Brewers. His first game with the Brewers, he faces off against his former team, the New York Yankees. First 3 pitches he throws with the Brewers, gives up a homer. Back-to-back homers on 3 pitches. Terrible start. Well, guess what? His last start was against the Cincinnati Reds. Didn't give up a run. They win the ball game 1-0. That is baseball. It's a crazy sport, and a difference in just a couple days in March and a couple days in April, you can see all of that. The Brewers aren't that bad of a pitching team, and now we're seeing that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's baseball. That's why it's one of the most humbling sports that you can play. It's the reason why, as we talked about earlier with Eduardo Perez, there's a lot of superstitions in baseball. But to your point, it's a reason why the baseball season is so long. The reason it is 162 games. There's 155 games left to be played. I do quickly want to go back, though, when we're talking about Milwaukee and we look back at the torpedo bats. I didn't get a chance to ask you just your overall perspective. I know Perez had a great perspective on this. But you were able to play this game for a long time. Played 5 years in the Detroit Tigers organization. Would you have used the torpedo bats? And do you think you would have had success like the Yankees did against the Brewers?
Look, I think the answer is as simple as this. Am I hot at the time of being offered this bat, or am I in a slump? If I'm swinging the bat great, I'm not going to use it. It's what Aaron Judge said the other day. No, I'm not using it. I think my track record the last couple of seasons speaks for itself. But if I am struggling, or if I am just kind of treading water and been in the same place for a couple weeks, or, you know, in the minor leagues, you're trying to work your way up, you haven't gotten a promotion, sure. I mean, it's all about trying new things. That's what this game is all about. There's so much change, especially on the pitching side of things. As a hitter, if you can give me a tool to try and better my game, absolutely, I'll look into it, I'll use it, and if it doesn't go great, well, it was the bat's fault, and I'm never using it again. If it does go well, yeah, I knew I was a good hitter this whole time. It's not the bat, I'm just finally using the right tool.
Yeah, well, it is a fun conversation considering pitchers are throwing fastballs faster than ever, so maybe this will give the hitters a little bit of an even edge, right, going against some of these 100 miles per hour fastballs. We do have to take a quick break here on FanDuel Sports Network Live, but when we come back, we're going to take a look around the AL West because some teams are heating up, including the Texas Rangers and the LA Angels, and you're also going to get a chance to preview the Cincinnati Reds and Milwaukee Brewers, two teams that Ben just covered as well. Angels on the rise as they're sitting second in the AL West right now, just right behind the Texas Rangers. Stick with us here on FanDuel Sports Network.
Might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete. But it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Welcome back to FanDuel Sports Network Live, where it is now easier than ever to watch your local teams. There's actually 4 ways that you can watch your local teams. You can find us on cable or satellite. And if you do have cable, you can use those network provider credentials to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network app. But if you don't have cable, just subscribe to the app directly. We have monthly, seasonal, or annual plans for you. And now the newest edition of ways you can watch is you can watch on Prime Video with an add-on subscription. Just go to getmyhometeams.com to see the FanDuel Sports Network is in your area. Plenty of your favorite MLB teams to watch here on FanDuel Sports Network, and a lot of those teams are in action tonight as we're going to take a look at those teams. As we mentioned, we're here at Truist Park for Braves versus Marlins. We're going to take you up to first pitch. The Orioles and Royals squaring off. We also got the Reds, Brewers, Guardian, and Angels all on the network. The Tampa Bay Rays, you can also watch on FanDuel Sports Network Florida. They're taking on the Texas Rangers. And as we welcome you back inside Truist Park, I'm Madison Hawk alongside Ben Verlander. Speaking of the Texas Rangers, that's an organization that looks like they're having a bounce back year. Of course, they won the World Series in 2023 and then struggled in 2024. But then now they're having a really good season. We talk about the depth that the Braves have. The Rangers have had a lot of depth for a long time. Really 1 through 11, 1 through 9, 1 through 13. Any guys that can play at any given night in their lineup, electric. But they also have a rotation now that is healthy and getting healthier as well. And they're going to take on the Tampa Bay Rays tonight as we take a look at the series probables. And just looking at the Rangers, you got a guy like Tyler Mahle, who I think really hasn't even broken out of his shell lately. And then you got Jacob deGrom, who is healthy, and we all know what he can do whenever he is healthy. Kumar Rocker, probably the biggest question mark in the Rangers rotation, because he did have a big jump. He dealt with Tommy John. He had his fair share of injuries. He didn't spend long in the minor leagues, but then he starts the season in the big leagues. You see his ERA there, 18. What stands out to you the most with the early success that the Texas Rangers are having right now? As a reminder, they're sitting in that top spot of the AL West.
Yeah, I think it's health. You know, I think when you come into this season, and I was talking about the Rangers before the season started, I didn't pick them to win the division, but I said their ceiling is the highest of anybody's in certainly the AL West, but maybe the American League. And what I mean by that is there's so many question marks. Jacob deGrom, an obvious question mark in the rotation for health purposes. Jack Leiter, is he going to take a step forward? That's been answered, by the way. I think that answers yes. Kumar Rocker is a question mark, but health was a big concern. Evan Carter, is he going to bounce back? Is Wyatt Langford going to be better this year? So many question marks that so far have been answered in a good way. So that's what I'd like to see out of this team. You look back to last year, look, let's call a spade a spade. In 2023, they were World Series champions. 2024, they dealt with a lot of injuries. Obviously, Jacob deGrom still didn't pitch most of the year. Max Scherzer injured as well, just injury after injury. They dealt with Young over at third base. So I just think they're healthy. Jack Leiter's taking a big step forward, and we're seeing these question marks, in my opinion, get answered. And then if you can have Jacob deGrom stay healthy, look, it's been one start, but if he can stay healthy, man, we should be talking about the Rangers to be American League favorites if they can stay healthy.
And Nathan Eovaldi, how about that guy? He's a fan favorite there in Arlington, and he hasn't even been with the club for that long. So the Rangers sitting pretty in that top spot of the AL West, but the LA Angels crawling down their neck there in that second spot. Mike Trout, he is healthy, and I think that it is important to remind fans that in his last 6 seasons, he's only had one season where he's played more than 100 games, but he's healthy now, and he looks pretty good. How far can this Angels team go with a healthy Mike Trout?
Yeah, look, before the season started, Mike Trout was ranked on, I think it was MLB.com, the 39th best player in baseball. That's ridiculous. Mike Trout is still elite. He's one of the greatest players we've ever seen. It's just been about health for them. So if the Angels want to be any good, and I mean any good, Mike Trout has to stay healthy all season long. Look, I'm not picking the Angels to win the division. I don't know if they can keep this up, but it's been a fun start to the year. My hope for the Angels this year is that Mike Trout plays 150-plus games. That would just be incredible.
He hasn't done that in a long time. Well, hey, this was fun.
This was great.
We're getting close to first base.
These fireworks are for us, by the way.
Fireworks are going off as if it couldn't get louder in here. Braves country is ready. They are hungry to see the Atlanta Braves get their first win of the season. Ben, you were great to work with. This was fun. I love talking ball with you.
Love talking ball with you. I'm here to turn the Braves season around, baby. It starts tonight.
You heard it here first. As the Atlanta Braves are hosting the Miami Marlins and their first game of the 2025 season here from Truist Park. The Battery was packed before first pitch. Braves country ready. They are hungry to see their team back on top. And can the Braves get the win tonight over the 4-3 Miami Marlins? Thanks so much for joining us here on FanDuel Sports Network Live. For Ben Verlander and the rest of our crew, I'm Madison Hawk. Thrilled to be with you. Enjoy first pitch coming up next.
Deliveries happen.
Hello? We didn't order that.
Are you sure?
This happens.
Socks. No
No.
That happens.
Hey, get out of there.
Charlie's up to bat in the pitch.
Oh, let's go.
Home happens. Be there with Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
I love betting on the NBA with FanDuel, especially when I've got the world's greatest basketball mind on my side. What's up, Chuck GPT?
What's up, Chuck IRL?
What do you think about this parlay?
It's great, but why don't you use me for something you really need help with?
What does Charles Barkley really need help with?
Hundreds of results found.
Uh-oh.
Fashion sense, basic math.
What?
Being on time, portion control, conflict resolution, enunciating, free throw percentage.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Eating vegetables.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
That's infected. Maybe getting a tattoo at a 3-day music festival was a bad idea. Lucky for you, an Amazon One medical virtual visit can happen anywhere. Even here. An Amazon pharmacy will deliver antibiotics right to you, so you can breathe easy.